This podcast is never intended as legal advice. Each podcast is a brainstorm of ideas and potential solutions. Consult an attorney for your legal questions. Thank you. Welcome. Today's discussion is, what do I need to do to help my family as they age? It's a given fact that we don't live forever and we change as we age. We're not as stable on our feet. We don't always make the best decisions. We're sometimes victimized by people who call into our home, and we hopefully have enough money to survive on. Sometimes we don't know about benefits that are available to us. So how can you help? Well, the overall picture requires that you first agree to maintain your family member's philosophy. What does that mean? If you think someone should be kept alive forever, then this won't work at all. If the family member does not want to be kept alive forever, or you're okay with special therapies that your family member would never want, you must honor your family member's wishes. And of course, this applies to friends too. So how do you do that? Well, you spend enough time with them. Doesn't mean you have to live in the same town. And you learn what their habits are. With my parents had bad habits because my mother was a nurse and she knew everything. And so she wouldn't tell me, and I had to keep a close eye on her to see when things changed. And that's one of the best tools in your toolkit, because all you have to do is observe. Call and talk to them, see if they sound different, see if their voice is different, or if you're not getting a hold of them and they're not getting up out of bed. I mean, those are obvious signs something's changed. It could be a medication change. It could be an illness that they've acquired that they just haven't shaken. And not everybody runs to the doctor right away. So once you have mirrored your philosophy sufficiently that you can support your friend or family member, then you need to look about to get authority. How do you get authority? Well, if I showed up with my next door neighbor at the hospital, even though I gave him a ride to the hospital, I wouldn't get any authority to do anything. The hospital, without a piece of paper, told me I would know nothing about my mother unless I showed up with a paper called a healthcare power of attorney. So, you want to find out what that paper looks like in your state? The hospitals tend to give them out these days because they need a contact. And all our cities are so big. It's not the one doctor who delivered me who knew everybody. And so there was no question as to what was supposed to be done and who made the decisions. We're in large communities, or we may be in remote areas, and there's just no way for the hospital to know. So find out what that form is. You can call an attorney. Sometimes you can call the Attorney General's office and get the forms. I would encourage you to make sure you know what's on the form so that when you are working with it, you know how to honor it. Because think about it. The form is your friend or family saying, I want this done, and I want everybody who wasn't really involved with this form to honor it. So it's a big deal. The other component is to keep in very close touch and find out what kind of scammers are calling your family members and find out what your family's doing about it. Now, if they won't talk about it, that may be a message. And there are some ways to track phone calls depending on whether the family has a cell phone or not, so you can see what kind of mischief may be about. Third, and everybody knows this or should know it. If you don't know it, it's been published by the IRS that the IRS does not call you. So when you get a call from the IRS or any other federal agency saying there's some compromise or fraud with you, whatever you do, don't call them back. You'll get something in writing, that I can promise you. Now, what can you do to help with finances? In our case, we were told the only way that we could help our parents was we had to have a power of attorney for their finances. And there is, in some states, something called a general durable power of attorney, but you'll have to check out what your state has, and I strongly encourage you to talk to a lawyer so you find out what the true forms are. The other kind of authority is if your parents have placed their assets into an entity, whether it's a company, whether it's a trust or whatever. Find out what that is, what it's called, who's in charge, and then see how to go about joining your parents or family member. And I say that because even my parents in their 90s, we were just co-trustees with my father and my mother, so that if there was a failure on their part, we could step in right away. These are the basic components of how to learn as much as you can to help a family member, to help a neighbor, and the kinds of documents I've been told to use, which are specific to states, so you always have to check from your state. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to our next session on more details about the authority you need.